What advice would you give someone who keeps attracting emotionally unavailable partners?
My advice is stop dating. Just stop trying for a period, right? Let go of your identity so that you can find out who you truly are.
One practice that saved your relationship.
Pause.
Biggest lie men are told about sex.
Harder is better.
Women that use heavy filters on social media. There's apps that will thin you out, make your bigger. That's like false advertising.
You're basically lying. It's not the real you. The message you're sending to the universe, you're sending to life, is that the real me is not lovable. And who do you think you're going to attract? We don't put the same effort into learning how to be good, how to love well, as we do into learning how to make money. And people, they do suffer. I see it every day.
That's why divorce rate is so high. That's why cheating is rampant. Most people think intimacy is about connection, but John Wineland says it's about practice. John has helped thousands of men and women access the kind of love, sex, and purpose that changes lives. Let's go. Welcome to the show, everybody. Today's guest, and this is a lesson in reaching out to people. I read his amazing book, From the Core. I messaged him, and dreams do come true. Here he is on the Heart and Life podcast, and he's going to share his beautiful wisdom. Before we hit record, I asked him, I said, John, what do you want to promote? He's like, everything's full. So you're going to get real genius today. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me, Kelly. Glad to be here.
What advice would you give someone who keeps attracting emotionally unavailable partners? And the reason I start here is because I see this everywhere on social media. Yeah. Women, men, going from person to person to person, not taking any time to themselves to see what their part of this was. We're going to start right from the hard one because everybody will resonate with this.
Yeah. So my advice, I get this a lot too, right? my programs, but my advice is stop dating. Just stop trying. Stop trying for a period, right? And so I've many years ago, after I got out of a very hard relationship, I came out and I was like, all right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to date multiple women. I'm going to get like a harem, and I'm going to, and I'm just going to date multiple women and choose the best one. And my teacher said to me at the time, he's like, no, you're not. You're going to do nothing for 9 months. Actually, he said a year. And then I said 6 months. And then we came up with 9 months. And I did what I call now a feminine cleanse, where I just stopped trying to make relationship happen. And instead, I cultivated a relationship with nature, the divine, life, and I cultivated a relationship with myself. And I got busy looking at the things that were showing up in relationship after relationship. So if you're attracting, this is a very specific problem, if you're attracting emotionally unavailable partners, it means that the part of you that didn't get your needs met as a child, the care, the love, the affection that you needed as a child, is what's transmitting out into the world. So you're going to, of course, attract people who are going to fit that family systems mold. So what I say is take a really good look at what needs to be healed in you so that that's no longer what's being transmitted. And for many people who are attracting unavailable partners, there's some part of their, they're either anxiously attached or there's some kind of wound around early child. Not their fault, man. Me too. Not their fault, right?
Me three.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not their fault, but it is our responsibility now as adults to look and go, what is blocking me from attracting, giving, and receiving the kind of love that I want, and focus on that. And as we heal, as we get more conscious, as we get more embodied, as we, drop further into our life and our relationship with ourself heals, we are naturally going to magnetize different people. I think the chapter I wrote it in that book was Let Them Appear, right? And I talk about do your work, do your own deep work, and then let the new version of, your partner appear.
John, your advice is so spot on. I did the same exact thing. So people, Take time to learn to love and trust yourself. Look in the mirror, love that person, get a great relationship with that person, and take time. Every time I give that advice to somebody, John, they look at me like I have three freaking eyeballs.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, I'm not dating, but they're going out on dates because they can't. Why is it so hard for people to be seriously alone and take time to know themselves? Why is it so hard?
I think they're scared. They're scared. They're scared of being alone. They're scared that they're getting older. They're scared they'll never find somebody like, X, Y, and Z. Fear is one of those things that I think, people have a real hard time being with, and will do so much to avoid being in fear and facing our fear, which once we do, turns out to just be usually grief. So the warrior's work, in my opinion, is to, and I just did a podcast with Connor Beaton on this, and we've talked a lot about, especially for men, the warrior's work is to face yourself, like really face yourself. And this might require people to get into therapy. This might require people to join a men's group or join some other kind of, build a team.
Yep.
The way that I've done it twice now in my life is I built like a team around me to support me while I went into the underworld of my childhood wounds, because they were significant. I grew up in an alcoholic home. You know what I mean? Dad left when I was 18 months. You know what I mean? Like I definitely needed to go in there a few times throughout my life and really just make that my purpose and let go. I would say to the people who think they're not dating, right? If you're still focused on creating a relationship or finding a relationship, you're not in the practice. The practice is to let go of the possibility of relationship completely.
Oh, so good.
Completely. And that is very hard. Your shit's going to come up. Your sadness is going to come up. Your loneliness is going to come up. But that's what makes you a stronger, more attractive mate, is that you know yourself. The way that my coach, my teacher at the time said it to me, is like, you're going to let go of your identity so that you can find out who you truly are. And what I found out was that, I can be needy. I can be afraid. I can be, anxious. I can be avoidant. I can be all these things that, again, weren't my fault. I wasn't born this way, but that got installed in me when I was a kid. And the first order of business was to really learn to face my shadows, face my pain, and really make my relationship with myself and with whatever you want to call God, right? Whatever higher power, whatever you want to call that, a primary experience.
That's beautiful. I want to reiterate what you just said. Let go of your identity so you can find out who you really are.
Yeah.
Let go of your identity, because that identity is false. I flat out, this is why I resonate with you. I used to be what everybody will call a fuckboy. Sorry for the language, guys, but that's what I did. I buried my feelings in the next woman.
Yeah.
Jeez, that sounded horrible, but literally what I did. And I was the best at it. And I was like you. I said, I'm just going to go from woman to woman and have no feelings. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Yeah. And then God said, yeah, right. Introduced me to the one that absolutely ripped my heart and soul out. So if you try to avoid these feelings,
right,
God will come for you and say, I'm better than you than this. And
yeah,
and you're going to have to face yourself. It's easier to just face yourself. So having said that, if my listeners are going and playing around, and I say this to the young men, my daughter is 17 years old, and she talks about these young men, these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids who think they're little players and they're just avoiding themselves. Will you speak to that and what it does about voiding your feelings at that young of an age?
Yeah. Wow. It's so hard, for 16, 17, 18-year-olds, because they're so hopped up on hormones and they're so horny and they're so, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so,
I'm 50 and I'm still that way.
I want to have compassion for our young brothers here, but I'm seeing usually what it means is that they haven't been fathered properly. Right? They haven't been taught like how to respect the feminine, how to revere the feminine, how to be a protector and a provider for the feminine, right? Instead, we're just trying to extract, right? Like we're trying to extract. And so I would ask these young men, even guys that are older in their 20s, like, are you just a vampire? Because that's going to come back. Your example of, so there's going to be a woman who's going to rip your heart out and leave you sort of crushed. What goes around comes around, brother.
What goes around comes around.
We can't avoid, I'm a Buddhist. I've been a Buddhist since I was a kid. So you can't avoid the karma. You're just going to create a lot of shit karma. And it's not actually going to be what I find out from most people who are fuckboys at some point. I was too at one point in my life. It's empty. It's like eating chocolate cake. You know what I mean? It's like, you end up feeling more and more empty. So I would tell the young men, I would say like, really like, ask yourself, what's the most important thing? What kind of man do you want to grow into? Do you want to grow into a man who has integrity, who is respected, who women trust, who really good women trust, who is a pillar of the community? Or are you just like wanting to mow down as much chocolate cake as you can? And I think when I present it that way, most young men will stop and be like, no, I want to be good. I want to be a nutritive source in my community, not a vampire just extracting energy from woman after woman.
I'm going to be very vulnerable with you because I don't get into I wrote 2 books, but I didn't really touched the surface of how bad I was. Mm-hmm. What, like that sex and women were a drug, and it was just like a drug where that you kept getting numb to it and you needed more and more and more. And then it got to the point where I would do 2 at a time together, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is wrong with me? And I knew there was something wrong with me, but I just didn't want to deal with it. So
yeah.
What do they say? Smart people learn from their mistakes. Wise people learn from other people's mistakes. Here's 2 gentlemen that are of an age that have been through it.
Yeah.
Learn from us, man. I want to talk about intimacy. And I'm sure that you've heard this. Intimacy, into me, I see. Mm-hmm. And I avoided that like the plague. Like it was, no. Because I was afraid to put my heart out there and have it broken. The funny thing about it is ultimately what set me down the harder than life path was somebody breaking my heart. And guess what? I lived and I got stronger, and you're batting 1,000. So having said that, what would your advice be about how to embrace true intimacy? What does it look like in a healthy relationship?
Right. Well, my definition of intimacy, I'm writing a second book and it's on relational intimacy. It's called Evolutionary Love. And one of the pillars, I have 4 pillars. The first pillar is do your own deep work, which we talked about at the beginning. The second pillar is become devotional to love over self. The third pillar is, create intimacy. And then the 4th pillar is create erotic magic. If those things are in any relationship, right? Both partners are doing their own deep work. Both partners are more devotional to the field of love than to their own, getting their own way or being right or being whatever we do, right? And if both partners prioritize moments of intimacy and moments of sexual magic, the relationship flourishes, right? It's just law. So for intimacy, my definition of intimacy is the removal of space. So and I can be intimate with anything. I could be to nature and be intimate with nature. I can so if I'm out in nature and I'm feeling the trees and I'm feeling the river and I'm feeling the sun and I'm actually removing space between me and the natural environment I'm in. If I'm intimate with myself, it means that I'm not putting my awareness on my thought loops or on some future moment or, scrolling or gaming or doing anything where I'm not actually close to myself. I'm not removing the space between my awareness, my thoughts, and the essence, the true essence that I am. The way I would put it is there's a me that is beneath my feelings, my experiences, my thoughts. That's like the true me. And the more I recognize that part in me, and those are your listeners that are meditators will know what I'm talking about. the timeless me, the infinite me, the ancient me. The closer I am to that part of me, the more intimate I am with myself. Now that you could also make it a point, like the closer I am to my feelings and the closer I am to my truth in a moment, right? I'm feeling sad or I'm feeling angry. That's an intimacy as well. So you can be intimate with self, you can be intimate with nature, you can be intimate with a dog, you can be in. So when you're intimate with somebody, it means that the space between you is dissipating. I'm human and you're human. I have a heart and you have a heart. I get afraid, you get afraid. Like I'm seeing your humanity, like the distance between us is dissipating. And, another way to think about that is, I have a soul, you have a soul. And so if you were in one of my workshops, I'd put you in front of a woman and you guys would eye gaze for a few minutes and breathe together. And you'd start to feel the space between you get smaller and smaller until you felt oneness.
I was just going to say oneness.
You
took
you
the
felt
word right out of my mouth. You were literally saying oneness. And what did I do? What does all these guys do? They keep you at arm's length because if you get close to me, you won't love me because I don't love me. And what you say, I'm for the people that haven't done the work. It sounds weird. Like we're on a computer. We're not in person today, unfortunately. And please make a promise that when your new book comes out, you'll come join us in Fort Lauderdale in person, and we'll do a massive fun thing when that comes out. When is it coming out?
End of this year.
Okay. And you're in Texas, right?
I'm in Austin. Yeah. I'm in Austin.
Yeah. Well, please come on a tour, come visit us, or we'll come to you. This is good.
If you make it to Austin, we'll do it too. Yeah. Either way.
I feel the closeness of the computer screen because of the vulnerability of you just opening straight up, and me too. And we're going to be lifelong friends because we were intimate together. I know it sounds weird, but it's true, people. And it's a bonding of brotherhood and of living that I can't explain. Can you expand on that a little?
I think it's a recognition of self and other, right? Like I can listen to your experience and feel myself through your experience, right? And what you've gone through. I had my heart broken too, recently, like a few years ago. So, it was a huge gift. So, when I run a men's program every year, and what I see ultimately, guys are coming in because they want to improve their relationships with women, or they want to learn their purpose, or they want to create more structure and discipline, or but what actually ends up happening is they fall in love with each other. They like literally, fall in love with each other, and they get to see themselves through the eyes of another. Right? They get to meet their own goodness, their own beauty, if you want to call it, through the eyes of another man, watching them get intimate with themselves, watching them, face their own pain, watching them, get really deeply rooted in their bodies. The intimacy that happens between men, which is very rare, right, is so healing, and it's so nourishing that men just are like a whole new part of themselves opens up. So, intimacy is a practice. It is a practice. It's a practice of training my awareness and training my body to open to you, to feel you, right? To feel me, to feel the moment. Like you can be intimate with a moment. You can be a good meditator will get really intimate in the pocket of a specific moment. And that's an intimacy as well.
Yeah, it's odd. In your book, I read a book a week. Your book took me a little longer because it was deep and thought-provoking.
Thank you.
And I pinned back, the one page I pinned back was about the meditation and prioritizing depth over comfort.
Yeah.
And it says, we are fed relentless cultural messaging that satisfaction is the byproduct of winning and accumulating. And it's really what resonated with me was that the byproduct of doing so is peace, openness, and radical aliveness. And that comes from the meditation. So this guys, get out, read this book. I'm pretty sure I tagged you when I read this. I read a lot. This book, oh man, it just split me wide open, guys. And anybody that's been following Harder Than Life or an avid listener, This was a really good page turn. I learned a lot. So thank you for putting it out in the world. And I can't wait to see the next one. If you ever need a speaker or want another thing at one of these men's group, I will fly to Austin and gladly do it. Cause I'm sure you know Stephanos, right? He lives in
Yeah,
Austin.
yeah.
Oh,
Steph and I are in a men's group together.
dear, he's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah,
The three S's that he gave me, I've taken and run with it.
yeah,
Silence, stillness, solitude.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
just,
men in particular. I mean, the masculine in a man or a woman, but the masculine is fed by stillness, silence, and solitude. Right? We get nourished. Our dopamine levels replenish. Our testosterone gets boosted. In the space, I think I talk about it in the book, is in the space of no demand. Right? In the space of no demand, where we can be silent, we can have solitude, we can be still. Literally, our brain chemistry, resets from all the cortisol driven, impulse driven, producing that we do all day long. So yeah, part of being intimate with yourself is slowing the down. I'm sorry, I'm cussing here. So
no, it's okay.
a bit of potty mouth. But yeah, slowing down and really feeling the moment, right? That's women want to feel men who can feel life, right? Who can feel the moment, who can feel what's needed, who can feel what's happening, right? Not guys that are distracted and check out.
Feeling is healing. I've said it 1,000 times. Feeling is healing. What you talked about the pillars, the third pillar. What does it really mean to lead with love? That was your third pillar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really so. Let me expand a little bit on it. So if we're in relationship, right? Like even you and I, like there's a field of love, right? And respect and regard between us in this moment.
Absolutely.
There's like an energetic field between us. And if you're in a relationship, there's a field of love that surrounds the relationship, or a family, or for me, it's a workshop. Sometimes the first thing I do is set the field of love. And if there's a field of love, that field of love has the possibility for healing, for magic, for juiciness, for all of the things that make us feel beautiful and alive. So that field is almost like a third entity in any relationship. And the more that I do things that feed that field of love, the more amplified the relationship gets, the more healing the relationship gets. So for example, if I was out to dinner with my girlfriend and we were just both on our phones, just, sitting next to each other.
Which you see all the time.
Yeah, all the time, right? So it's kind of a weak field of love, and everybody around the restaurant can see it. But the moment, like, let's say, so I'm on my phone and she's on her phone, but we're holding hands. The field of love is kind of strengthened a little bit, and people feel this stuff. And then if we put down our phones and she like feeds me a bite of food, the field of love gets amplified even more. And, God forbid she like sat on my lap and fed me. The field of love would be fed even more. And so it's really quite practical that we're paying attention to the health of the field of love at all times over our patterns, our distractions, our addictions, our fears, all of that stuff, which then just diminishes the field of love. And that's why people end up splitting up. Weak field of love. I mean, the Gottmans, if you follow the Gottmans at all,
Yeah,
but the Gottmans they don't talk about the field of love, but they talk about, addressing bids for connection and praise. And, all of those things are things that feed the field of love. So that's what it means. It means to be paying attention to something, to the energetic, beautiful energetic field, kind of like Joe Dispenza's quantum field. If you listen to Joe
you're
Dispenza
speaking my language, my friend.
Yeah. It's the same thing, except it's a field of love.
You said feed the love, right? Feed it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. Because if what are you to feed your fear of your heartbroken, or are you going to feed the love? Whichever one you feed is going to grow.
You can feed your distraction. I mean, another good example is like, you're living with let's say you live with your partner and you guys are both busy. Everybody's working at home, or a lot of people working at home, coming and going, and the kids and all that stuff. Stop for a minute and just give them a kiss, like give them a real kiss. That feeds the field of love. These are very practical, not crazy things that we can do for each other that lead to a deeper sense of intimacy, safety, care, and we're just stingy. We're stingy and we're distracted, and it shows.
Let's talk about that stinginess and a little bit. How many times, what would you recommend to the people? I hear this all the time in relationships. "Oh, I just want them to change, or I want them to be better." Everything I read is you have to love them for who they are.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where does that fit into your
Yeah.
expertise?
It's a dance, man. And I coach a lot of couples. It's a dance. So there should be in any healthy relationship, the healthy expression of needs, right? Like,
Mm.
I would need you to put down your phone when we eat and pay attention to us. I would need you to, and you phrase it that way, not you need to da 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 da. I would need you to do, for me to feel safe and alive and loved in this relationship. For example, I would need, us to spend more time together. I would need us to make love more. I would need, and we're being really honest and truthful about what we need, not what they're doing, but what we need. And then we get to let our partners try to meet those needs. Now, if you're in a partnership and you've had conversations like that and your partner's not trying to meet your needs, or in many instances wants to, but just can't, they're too up, they're too in their own shit, they're too distracted, they're too wounded, all of those things, and they can't actually meet your needs. That's really good information for the relationship that you're in. But if you have that conversation and you're really clear, like, hey, here's what I would need to feel like I want to be with you for the rest of my life, and then you have to let them do their thing. Then you have to be patient and kind and praise them when they do try to, like, when they do put their phone down, like, thank you for putting your phone down, honey. Like, I really appreciate you being present with us. It really means a lot to me, and praise. We're so focused on what's missing, so stingy about praising what's beautiful. And it causes relationships to diminish. It weakens the field of love, and that's, people don't feel safe.
Rewind that, everybody, what he just said, and then I'm going to take it a step further, and that's where the cheating happens. So you ask, I need this, they don't do it, or you don't give them enough time. Somebody else offers it, and this is where social media and the illusion of having so many options messes things up. But the reverse is true too. When you're really healed and you say it and you put a boundary and they still don't meet it, and then you enforce that boundary. Whoa. Watch them freak out on you. But it's funny because both work for you, where they both work out. Everything you think, you started off with, my heart was broken, but it was the best thing that ever. That's what started Harder Than Life. That's what launched this big brand, is my heart being broken. So when you think isn't working out for you, it actually is. If you put a boundary and he or she doesn't meet it and you have to move on, good. If she does, good. But give it.
Well, there's a caveat to that too, Kelly. There's a caveat, right? Let's say you say, I need these sorts of things, right? Now, of course, they're going to respond back with what they need. Right? And so, you really have to, like, if you're setting in your mind a time, like, okay, let's try for 6 months to meet each other's needs, then you really have to try. You really have to. And I think this is one of the things I see people really stumble in. They'll say their needs aren't being met, but are they really meeting the needs of their partner? Are they really showing up with love? Are they really showing up with patience and compassion? Are they really seeing what's beautiful in their partner versus what's not? Are they really taking the time to take care of their partner's nervous system, which is
somebody's got to go first.
Yeah. And so I can't leave you because you're not meeting my needs if I'm not really at a level 8, 9, or 10 telling if I can't look at you and say, I gave you my very best shot at meeting your needs.
That's a hard one, because I've been in that dance before where I'll say what I need. I'm very good at communicating. I've studied it. And then you're right. She will immediately say, well, I need this. And then I don't feel seen and heard. And then I say, wait a minute, this was about me.
Right. Well, you could maybe set it up like the way that I did it with my partner last year was that we took 2 different nights. Well, the first night was just me hearing her needs, me reflecting back, like, okay, so if I'm hearing you right, like, here's what you need from me, right? Here's what you need from me. And then me saying what I was willing to do and what I wasn't. And in most of them, I was like, of course, that sounds totally fine. And then, okay, here's maybe some negotiation, right? She stated all of her needs. I told her what I was available to try to do. And then we bowed and said goodbye for the night. And then the next night we did the same thing for my needs. So that way, you can write them down, you can keep them with you. If you're really devoted to love, then you'll write your partner's needs down, and you'll check yourself every few days. Like, hey, when was the last time I gave her physical affection? Or when was the last time I really, like filled his body with energy and love? When was the last time that I did something really nice for them without them asking? And you can track yourself, because I think people stay, Kelly, in relationships as much because they know they haven't given it all, as you know what I mean, as much as they aren't getting their needs met, right? So if I can't leave you, there's some part of me that thinks I haven't really tried. I haven't really shown up in a very deep, potent way.
What I love what you said is you're backing up the talk with action, in that you said at the very early, when we were talking about the 16, 17, 18-year-old boy or man, and saying, are you really trying? And that's showing. You took 2 days out in yours. And guys, that's what doing the work looks like. If you were trying to make money and you did it once, you're not going to make money. So really look in the mirror. And if you were to write down all the things that you were doing, did you really put forth the effort that love deserves, or that you want? If your end goal is to have a man, or be a man that everybody envies and looks up to and says that is what a man looks like, and to live a life with a significant other, then you have to put in the time. You owe it to yourself. And it requires 2 days at minimum of devotion. I have a love journal. Literally, my girlfriend and I, we went over it over New Year's, and then we're going to Costa Rica in a week, and we're going to finish it all. And it's beautiful. All of our plans.
Yeah. Great. Desires. Yeah. Like having a journal of desires, like all the things that she would want to do with you and you would want to do with her. And then you guys like just have that as your Bible. I think that what's happening in relationship now is people are realizing that the next one isn't necessarily going to fix it.
Nope.
And what for most of your listeners probably know this, that success is great. Money is great. Living in your purpose is great. But I coach so many very successful men who are never have to work again. Right. And they feel miserable. They put so much time and attention into that, and they put no time and attention into being a deep lover, in being a generous partner. And most studies will tell you what makes you live longer, have a higher quality of life, feel better about yourself is the quality of your love relationships, not just romantic, but friends and family and community and all that. So we don't put the same effort. I mean, they are now. That's why my workshops are sold out. We don't put the same effort into learning how to be good, how to love well, as we do into learning how to make money. And people will suffer. They do suffer. I see it every day.
That's why divorce rate is so high. That's why cheating is rampant. But I always say this: money won't make you happy, but happiness will make you money. And what'll make you happy is loving yourself, like your life depends on it, because it does. And everything you're saying is beautiful. I've been wrestling with something, John, and I want to get your opinion on this. I believe that this is more of a woman thing, but I believe women that use heavy filters and augment themselves on social media.
Wow.
Are
I didn't even know that was a thing you could do, but I guess.
Oh my God. I just learned it the other day. My girlfriend told me, she goes, look at her arm, where her arm was. You could see that there's apps that will thin you out, make your bigger.
Wow.
Obviously, you've seen the face filters. Have
Yeah.
you? I've been wrestling with doing a solo episode talking about how if you're doing that,
Yeah.
that there is something in your core
Right.
that needs to be addressed and just seen and heard, because honey, you're not going to make, you don't love yourself, so you're not going to be able to love somebody else. But yet those are the ones
It's
out
not the
there,
real you,
serial
right?
dating.
Yeah, it's not the real you. And so, basically what the message you're sending to the universe, you're sending to life, is that the real me is not lovable.
Oh,
The real me is not attractive. The real me is not, is not good enough. And so I need to use all these filters and apps because the real me is not enough. And that signal is going out into the universe, right? And who do you think you're going to attract? What do you think you're going to attract? People who are shallow, people who like someone who's reaching out to you on Instagram because they like the way your looked, right? They're shallow. You're not going to find anybody with depth. You're not going to find anybody that has a real heart. You're going to find somebody who just wants to have sex with you, or, I'm talking about women mainly, but men do it too. You said I want to say it's all about it. It's self-love gets thrown around, but you're right. Self-love, but it's really self-acceptance, right? It's it's the way that one of my teachers talks about it. He's like, to recognize the beauty of your own life and to see your own goodness and beauty. And for people who need to put filters on, they obviously aren't in touch with their own beauty. And so they think they have to augment it. It's sad. It is sad. Yeah.
It's so sad. And if I could fix one thing, besides everybody has to tell the truth, that would be it. It's just getting everybody to love themselves, because a lot of these women are beautiful and they just don't think so. And the sad part is some of them that aren't, and they do that. And it's like, we're going to see you in real life. The dude that you're going to ask out or is going to ask, going to see you. That's like false advertising, but that's
it's a
the
lie.
story.
You're basically lying. So what you're going to attract from that? We have to get, one of the hard truths that people don't like to admit is that whatever we put out is going to come back. Right? We're going to magnetize from. Yep. So if we're showing ourselves, we're showing an untrue version of ourselves, whether it's about how much money I make or how I look or, how happy I am which is another way that people lie, right? Like people will lie on social media about how happy they are, right? Just presenting the beauty of their life and not really talking about like, the shit that they go through, that we all go through, right? And if you are living projecting that kind of lie out into the world, you're not going to get beauty back. So you're going to get other liars back. You're going to get other liars.
This is one of my most favorite. I don't say that this is my most favorite podcast. You are dropping, because I've been there, and you're making my heart sink, because I want everybody to find the love that everybody should be able to have. I was going to say deserve, but there's no deserves. You have to earn it. So let's get into this masculine, feminine stuff, because it was all over your book. And what's the biggest misunderstanding men have about masculine energy?
That's a good question. The biggest misunderstanding that I see now is that they think aggressiveness or warrioring up or pounding their chest or primal screaming is essential masculine energy, right? Being dominant. And look, that is one part of a healthy masculine palette, let's call it, right? That's one part. But like I say in my book, masculinity is the transmission of depth, consciousness, grounded aliveness. And the more that I'm transmitting my fullness of self, my connection to consciousness, my grounded depth, the more masculine I appear, the less flappable I am. I'm not pounding my chest. I'm not warrioring up. Although there's definitely a time and place for that, but that's not the foundation. That's not the trunk of the tree, right? The trunk of the tree is my grounded depth and my connection to something greater than my thoughts and my experience. Masculinity, as in one of my teachers, a man named David Data wrote The Way of the Superior Man. He was my teacher for 18 years. He's talked about it a lot as, if we look at the universe as basically emptiness, stillness, emptiness, consciousness, and energy. Everything is made up of emptiness and energy, down to the smallest particle, space, planets, this chair, right? Everything is made up of emptiness and energy. The more relating we are with the energy of being alive, you know what I mean? Like, just the more energy, the more we're in our feminine. And the more we're relating to what's still, what's deep, what's grounded, what's heavy, what's infinite, we're relating to our masculine. And we all have both. Men and women have both. That's another big, big, big misconception. Men are trying to cultivate their capacity to feel, their capacity to express. Those are all feminine attributes, and they're all beautiful. Women are trying to cultivate their capacity to ground, their capacity to be still, their capacity to feel consciousness. Those are all beautiful masculine attributes. And ultimately what I'm seeing, Kelly, just to provide a little hope here, what I'm seeing is that more and more people are wanting to be whole humans, with a fully fleshed out masculine capacity and a fully fleshed out feminine capacity, so that we are whole. We're not stereotypes of masculinity or femininity. We're whole, complete human beings.
You're coming back to that oneness again, John. It's beautiful. And I'll give for me personally, when I'm in my masculine, I'm comfortable and calm, and I provide peace and stability, and I create that safe space for my girlfriend to be whatever she wants to be. And that's the kind of intimacy that I never thought was possible until I did it.
Yeah. And it has, when a man is in his masculine in the way that you described and I described, when he's in his masculine, when she can feel his inner stillness, when she can feel his grounded depth, her nervous system automatically downregulates. Her nervous system automatically softens, and she begins to feel safe in the space because she can feel that he's got it. His awareness is online, his stillness, his calmness, his equanimity is online, and I can relax and let him hold it.
And then the conversation that flows after that, guys, is mind-blowing. There's nothing that I don't know about my significant other. There's nothing that she doesn't know about me, because we created that safety. And it just brings that, and it takes that intimacy and it closes that space that you call. There's no space between us. Now, do we get mad at each other? Yeah. Do we need a minute away? Yeah. Do we still fight? Of course. But you have that core. Everything's coming back to your core. Again, get out, read this book. It's from the core. So good. Is what brought us together. Doing this work really does work. And let's talk about what makes sex sacred. We talked about being an F-boy, but what makes it sacred?
It's a great question. So what makes sex sacred is the recognition of the divine, right? Which you could call love, which you could call, soul recognition. Yeah, everybody's kind of got their own, but I'm not just making love to your body. It's not this two bodies, right? So I'm feeling your emotion. I'm feeling your physical body, your emotional body, your spiritual body, your energetic body. Like I'm feeling every inch of you and every ounce of your energy. And I'm feeling how, for lack of a better term, God or goddess is expressing through you. And so when we get that, when we make, pro tip, I'll give you guys here.
Thank you.
Is next time you're making love, like really look into the eyes of your partner and feel how deep they go while you're feeling the pleasure of making love to them. I just see past, don't just look at their, breasts, like look into her eyes and really feel into the deepest part of her heart. And you've immediately deepened the moment. The way to deepen a moment is to place your awareness on something deeper, not her breasts, but the deep part of her heart. course you can feel her breasts and great, feel her body and feel his body, right? But if you're looking into the deepest part of her, the deepest part of him, you're already gesturing towards a sacred experience.
I can imagine people are driving, listening to this right now going, these two have lost their mind. And I'm going to tell you, I was there.
Yeah.
This was before I started doing the work. I was like, these two woo-woos are crazy. And what I'm going to say to you is, first of all, follow John. Well, all of it will be in the show notes. Second of all, email me directly and I will help you. I will give you resources. I will point you in the right direction. But if you're sitting there going, these guys are off their rocker, we need to help you. And I want to help you. And email me, kelly@heartandlife.com. And I will point you to either Stephanos or some group that's open. I don't do any of that stuff, but I'm fascinated because I believe that everybody needs love. I grew up without love. I had to beg, borrow, cheat, and steal to try to get it. And now I get it unconditionally. And it's freaking beautiful. And I want it for all of you guys. So we got a couple more questions and then we're going to do a rapid fire to have some fun. What do women secretly crave from their partners that most men don't realize?
Oh, wow. I think we've touched on it, but it's really your stillness. And when I say stillness, I'm not just talking about standing in the middle of the room still or sitting on the couch super still. What she's craving is to feel the part of you internally that's still, that's not jumping around, that's not super distracted, but that's really just like in the moment. And I just did this thing with Connor Beaton, who's also fantastic, Man Talks. And we talked about how emotional, what was the term we used? Emotional mastery, right? So your stillness and your emotional mastery, meaning you are in charge of your own emotions. You know how to communicate your needs without blowing up. You know how to state a boundary without, chopping her head off. You know how to, so emotional mastery and grounded stillness and depth. Those things I wrote about it in the book. Those are currencies. They're currencies, just like providership and protectorship and all those things are currencies as well. And what most men don't realize is that those things are now as important because women can make their own money. Women can create their own careers. Women, they don't need you to provide for them necessarily, but your grounded depth and your like the stillness of your heart and of your mind will put them into a state of sort of blissful relaxation that most men just do not practice and do not understand.
And I'll give you my interpretation of that and a gateway, and just a gateway of that. A gateway to end a portal to that is just listening without trying to solve anything. And then that is the first step in stillness. Just listen. We're men, we're solvers.
Yeah.
We want it. God gave you one mouth and 2 ears and 2 eyes to use in that ratio, one mouth. And I don't know how many times I catch myself. I have a daughter and I have a girlfriend. I am bombarded with 2 girls. And I just literally have to catch myself before I go into full fix-it mode. And I say, am I just supposed to listen or do you want answers?
You can ask her a question and let her answer. Yeah. No,
75% of the time they go, Dad, I'm just venting, or honey, I'm just venting.
Yeah.
And it is so hard, but I'm telling you, pro tip, do it, guys. What's your vision for where this work is headed in the next 10 years?
Okay. I have sort of 2 legacy projects that I've built over the last 10 years. The first is the men's work that I do every year. I do a 6-month program. I take the men out to the desert. We go to Mount Shasta. We go off grid just outside of Death Valley and we do a lot of deep work together. And from that work over the last, 10 years, teachers of men's work have kind of sprung up. And the guys have started men's groups together and they've started their own men's programs and they've become teachers and leaders in their community. And so it's been this really beautiful organic sprouting of men's work, including men's groups out into the world. And so my vision is and I think I wrote in the book, one of my impossible goals is to create 10,000 men's groups. Well, maybe at 100 or somewhere over 100. But that's going to go exponential at some point because those things are just going to keep rippling out. My students have been teaching. And so one of my legacy projects is to really create a solid foundation for men's groups and men's work into the world. And I think it's happening. It's happening. It's speeding up. It's getting more traction. You can just see it. It's become an industry. It's become an industry. I would have never thought 30 years ago that teaching men's work would be an industry, and it's become an industry. So that's the first one. The second one is I have a teacher training program, a year-long teacher training program, where I teach people the yogic and relational and emotional skills for very deep intimacy. And the same thing is happening. Teachers are now starting to, I've been doing this for 7 years in that program. And so the first wave of really good teachers are starting to go into the world, start their own stuff. And so I really see my vision is to really create amazing teachers of this work and practitioners of this work so that it just ripples out into the world.
Are you working with Chris Williamson, who's also in Austin?
I haven't actually. Connor's making an introduction between us, but no, I haven't worked with Chris.
So he said something the other day that I really resonated with me, where I thought you would go with that. And those are two beautiful things. I think the third thing where I was kind of looking at is I see men there, and this is probably happening in your groups, be talking more openly and acknowledging their feelings. I did it yesterday, and I'm not kidding you. I was always taught there was nobody around for me to vent to. So I woke up yesterday and I got some crazy stuff going on in AI in my cybersecurity company. And I just woke up anxious, and I had myself like on the verge of a panic attack. And I go, it's stress. And as soon as I just allowed myself to say stress, everything dissipated. And then I called my girlfriend and I just said, hey, I don't need you to do anything. I'm just saying this again because I'm stressed today. And usually I go into total, I'm stressed, but it's good stress. And I had to justify it. And if I just named it, it freaking dissipated. And just before we got on, I said to Steven, Steven, we're so busy in every aspect of my life. I need a little bit more help from some people, and I got to delegate better. And so just naming it and being okay as brothers in arms and saying, man, I'm feeling, instead of us calling each other bitches, just saying, I'm feeling the feelings today, man. And putting your arm around you and going, I got you. It's all, I'm seeing more of that. That's where I think.
Yeah. To me, that's what happens as the result of men doing the work. You know what I mean? That's the byproduct of there needs to be spaces and, where men, especially specifically, but women too, can really feel safe to express their truth and feel that they can express their truth without being judged or needing to be fixed. And so for me, all of these spaces, the spaces that I create, the spaces some of my students are creating, they're all spaces where people can learn how to do what you just described.
That's beautiful. That's it. You're just a beautiful human being, and I'm so grateful that you came on, and thank you for doing this. I'm going to end it before we go in the rapid fire with question about your daughter.
Yeah.
So how do you hope your daughter remembers your teachings? Because I just told you I have a 17-year-old daughter. Really, truthfully, I thought that was my punishment for being an idiot. They gave me a daughter, and now she's 17 and she's dating, and I've been doing this work for 7+ years. And now she sent me a meme that said, I have reverse daddy issues. I grew up thinking all men were good. And
wow.
So I would say to you, how do you hope your daughter remembers your teachings?
Yeah. Well, it's, when there's a little backstory here. So I started doing this work in 2008. By 2010, I was so inspired. I wanted to, kind of start doing men's groups and workshops. And but my daughter had special needs. She was terminally ill. And so the guys in my men's group said, no, you're not going to travel anywhere. Your work is to be available for your daughter at all times. And so I built my life around, I still ran a men's group once a month in Santa Monica, and I still did my training, but my life was built around taking care of Claire until she was 18. So and then once she got to be 18, she started to actually travel with me. I took her to Europe, and she would like video some of my workshop stuff, and her and I, she loved my work. What I hope she remembers, and I know she does, is that I was a champion of love. That I was, men loving each other, men and women loving each other, and that I was on the front lines of really trying to teach people how to love more deeply, more artfully, more fully, more completely. And I know she loved it. I know she loved it. Yeah.
You're amazing. Thank you.
She was amazing too, man. She was amazing too. She was amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, rapid fire, my friend.
You can see her picture back there. That's her picture back there. Yep, that over there. That's her picture there, Claire, and those are her ashes. And so she's watching over us now.
I know. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's just beautiful.
Yeah.
One word to one sentence answer on these, my friend, and then we'll get you out of here. So, one practice that saved your relationship.
Pause.
Biggest lie men are told about sex.
Harder is better.
What? Sorry. What emotion do men fear the most and why?
I would say fear, because it makes them feel powerless.
Most underrated intimacy tool?
Connected breathing.
Ooh, I like that. If presence had a sound, what would it be? That was good. For those of you who didn't hear, he just exhaled. That's beautiful. A moment where you lost polarity and how you got it back.
Oh, there've been many moments. Okay, it's going to take more than one sentence, but
okay.
I had to learn how to raise a daughter with deep health issues and still go home and take care of my partner. And so I had to do a tremendous amount of work to go from the fear and heartbreak of the hospital to come home and love my woman well. And the way that I did that was I really learned to compartmentalize that fear and open my heart and love what was in front of me. So when I was in the hospital, I would love what was there. And when I got home, I would love what was there. And I tried not to let the two, I kept them compartmentalized enough. Yeah.
God, this is so good. My favorite podcast. One phrase you use when you're ready to lead from the heart.
Feel the weight and the texture of your own heart right now. Like literally feel your own heart, and then move forward, or say what you want to say, or do what you're going to do. But feel the heart first, literally feel the weight of it, feel the density of it, and then move forward.
You ever see me walking around tapping my heart? That's when I'm trying to activate it and bring myself back to oneness. Yeah. So something's heavy and I just start going like this, and it just
heart's got so much power, Kelly. The heart literally has the most power of any organ in our body. So electrical power, the heart, tapping into the heart creates so much more power and potency for anybody. It's incredibly underrated.
My friend, we just scratched the surface of today. That hour went by just like that. But I'm not even gonna have to tell people to share this one. This is an instant classic, and I thank you so much. But I'm gonna wrap this thing up with saying that John Wineland doesn't just teach intimacy; he lives it, as you can see. His work is a call to presence, a change to love more deeply, and an invitation to lead from truth, not that fear. If you felt something awaken in you during this conversation, follow John, read his book From the Core, and start practicing today. Because sacred intimacy isn't luck, it's devotion. Until next week, be hard in life. Please rate and share this podcast. I'm active on all social platforms and love to hear from my Siegel supporters. Each and every episode is sponsored by my company, National Technology Management, the easiest and best IT company to do business with, delivering peace of mind with technology every day, even simplifying cybersecurity. Visit trustntm.com for more info. Until next week, be harder than life.